we're going to cover right now is how to deal with ground fighting. You know, talk about ground fighting. Ground fighting is such a broad category. When I really talk to people, you know, what is the most devastating position to be in? I think they would agree with most MMA fighters. It is obviously being mounted. We're going to talk about this position, how to escape 3 common kinds of positions when you are being mounted. So I'm going to bring Casey out here right now. I'm going to get on the ground. This is obviously under mount position. So if I'm on the ground right here, I'm under mount. Casey is obviously on top of mount, just like this. Our first kind of move that we have right here is what's called a buck, trap, and roll. The reason why this is so important is this is a position that I'm very vulnerable. I have limited mobility, but not just that. You'll notice that Casey can go ahead and punch my face, but I cannot reach his face. This is obviously very devastating for me. So what we're gonna do in this kind of situation is our buck, trap, and roll kind of defense, where our hands are gonna be up. They're gonna be up because they need to go ahead and block our face. As we do that, I'm gonna fire up my hips, but also kick them forward with my knee. So the buck part is this, here, up, and forward. This is gonna throw the person forward. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna trap. When we trap, we wrap around the arm right here, wrap around the side, and this hand right here wraps around the body. So I'm gonna be as snug as possible. As I go ahead and I do that, then I'm gonna go ahead and roll. That's the last and final point. I've knocked out support here, I've knocked out support there, and I'm gonna go ahead and roll. Once I get to this situation, then I can go ahead and I can disengage. So if we go ahead and get back in this position, we have buck, trap, and roll from under here. Hands must be up. If by chance this person's knees are really up in my armpits, okay, this is once again, this is a thing that he can do to increase leverage on me. I just want to go ahead and just shrimp out just a little bit, shimmy out, and as I do that, go right to my buck, trap, and roll. As we do this, it is buck, trapping here, trapping over the leg, and hugging here the torso. The last part we have is rolling. Just like that, and then we can go ahead and disengage. The second position that we're going to handle down the ground is under mount, and we're going to do a little bit of a different position. So if Casey goes on front, this is a choke position. Very scary, very devastating. When this person's hands are just like this, we're going to go ahead and roll into the buck, trap, and roll, but we need to take care of the hands first. So as we do that, we're going to do a double hand pluck, and at that time, then we buck forward. Once the person's hands are released and we put their weight forward, they're obviously gonna fall forward just like this. So it's gonna look like this. Then I fall into my trapping, and rolling. Just like this, disengage. Let's take a look at that pluck. When we pluck, we don't wanna pluck down, and I don't even wanna go out just like this. The position that we want to go ahead and do is pull away from the throat just like this. So here, this is the movement that I want. Notice that I'm not going to do this and then not do anything. This is where we roll into the buck, trap, and roll. So as the choke is happening, pluck, buck, trap, and then roll. But notice how the buck happens right after the pluck. So if I have Casey on top once again, what I don't want to do is go here when they're choking, pluck, and then have there be a second wait time. He's going to go right back on my throat again. It's so important that we pluck and we buck at the exact same time. So as I do that, that is my move. The third kind of position we're going to handle down the ground is under mount, but our arms are pinned. What do we do in that kind of situation? Very common. When somebody is on mount right there, they're going to go ahead and they're going to try to isolate our arms. They don't want us doing anything with our arms, whether it be countering, fighting back, punching back, et cetera. So if I have Casey right here, he's going to do this a little bit different where he's on mount once again, but the hands are pinned. So the hands are pinned. Now it's a little bit more difficult right here. My counter to this is going ahead and taking the arms and extending them up as quickly as possible. Now doing that and including that with the buck, that will make it very difficult for Casey to hold on. So as I do that, this movement and the buck have to be as quick as possible. Notice how I do them almost simultaneously. This movement right here is going to happen just a second or a half second sooner. That's what I want. I'm gonna have Casey go ahead and put more pressure on my hands right there, so he's not being cooperative, and the exact same thing is gonna happen. As my hands fire up, all right, my hips are gonna go up. Don't forget about this follow-up knee right there as we do our bucking motion. That's what I want. We fall right into, then going ahead, trapping around. We want to wrap here, and then we obviously want to roll. Let's set this up again really quickly. From here, and then once again, trap, and then we roll in this position. So the 3 positions that we took a look at right here is from under mount position, we have our regular buck, trap, and roll. If they're choking, the second position right there was our pluck, buck, trap, and roll. And then last but not least, the arms are pinned, fire up our arms just like this, and then once again, following up with our buck, trap, and roll. Those are 3 counters for 3 specific positions when we're in one of those scary positions or the scariest position down the ground, which is under mount position.